Many nations set out to make it big in the New World, and many did, though some were more successful than others. The Dutch in the Hudson River Valley, the English in Virginia and Massachusetts, even the French gained unprecedented success along the disparate St. Lawrence and Mississippi rivers. But one forgotten European power also made lasting plays in North America. To the average American, and probably most modern Swedes, the small and short-lived colony of New Sweden is a more esoteric piece of lore whose legacy is still felt today. Swedish traders began operating in the Delaware River Valley around 1610, trading mostly with Iroquoian-speaking Susquehannocks and Algonquin-speaking Lenape. In 1626, the Swedish Empire announced its colonial intent with the formation of the Swedish South Company. Also known as the Company of New Sweden, the company was founded as Sweden's own transatlantic trading project, primarily to break into the fur trade, a commodity Scandinavians would doubtless find useful. The company shares a common founder with the Dutch West India Company, a Flemish-born merchant from Antwerp, Willem Uselings, who founded the company with a broad mandate to settle colonies along the eastern seaboard, and to whom Gustavus Adolphus had boldly granted jurisdiction from Newfoundland to Florida. In late 1637, Sweden's first expedition was overseen by Admiral Claes Fleming and outfitted by Swedish South Company founding stockholder Samuel Blommaert. At the time, Blommaert was the director of the Dutch West India Company and appointed Peter Minuit, the direct previous governor of the New Netherland colony, to head up on-the-ground operations in New Sweden. The expedition fielded 2 ships. The flagship was Kalmar Nickel, which was accompanied by the smaller Vogel Grip. The ships were Dutch in origin, purchased as part of Gustavus Adolphus's plan to rapidly expand the Swedish navy. The expedition set sail from Gothenburg in November of 1637, and immediately sailed into a storm in the North Sea. The expedition arrived in the New World on March 29, 1638, landing in present-day Wilmington, Delaware. Between 1638 and 1655, the company sent a total of 11 expeditions in 14 voyages, of which 2 were lost at sea. The largest the New Sweden colony ever got was around 600 people, with it being believed the long voyages and comfortable living in the mother country discouraged Swedes from willingly participating in the endeavor. Only a small minority of Swedes were free men and women. The rest were soldiers, convicts, servants, and other employees of the Swedish South Company. The colony was lost to Sweden in September of 1655 during the Second Northern War. The Swedes claimed victory during the war in Europe, but lost their colony in America to Peter Stuyvesant and the forces stationed in the New Netherland colony almost immediately after the Swedish invasion of Poland earlier that year. The loss could not have been too devastating, as the ceding of New Sweden to the Dutch Republic went unmentioned in any treaties. By all accounts, the colony remained largely autonomous and flourished under Dutch rule. At the start, the number of Finns in New Sweden was about 25%, but under Dutch rule, the population of Finns in the New Sweden colony rose to over 50%. The colony's Finnish population were mostly penal colonists, charged with burning forests against royal edict, a practice that they were punished for in the Old World, but were sentenced to in the New World. The rest of the population of New Sweden were either Dutch, German, or Frisian, respectively. At its height under Swedish rule, the colony operated 7 fortifications and colonists lived in 19 permanent settlements, the most prominent of which, Christineham, is today the capital of the state of Delaware. After the English drove out the Dutch in 1664, the lands became open to English settlement. Christineham came under the ownership of Thomas Willing, who reorganized the settlement on a grid inspired by Philadelphia under the name Willingtown. In 1739, the settlement received a borough charter from King George II and was renamed Wilmington after Spencer Compton, 1st Earl of Wilmington, future Prime Minister and at the time Lord President of the Council. Christina was not alone in being superseded by English colonists. Even within Wilmington, there were 4 other Swedish settlements: Cedoland, Overshadowed, Timuron, and Strandviken. Philadelphia is the next most Swedish-American city, with 4 former settlements: Torn, King's Essing, Minquas Island, and Providence. Chester, Pennsylvania is the third, with 2 settlements of upland in Princetorp. The most blatant settlement is Swedesboro in New Jersey. Founded in 1650 and named Seaboard in honor of the recently constructed island fortress that protected Helsinki. Known to the English settlers as Raccoon, the settlement was renamed to Swedesboro in 1765, though the creek that flows next to the town remains the Raccoon Creek. Swedesboro is one of only 3 settlements from New Sweden in New Jersey, the other 2 being New Stockholm in modern-day Bridgeport and Elsinboro along the Salem River. It was not until the late 19th century that Swedes took an interest in America, with over 1 million immigrating to the country between 1885 and 1915, never inhabiting their former New Sweden colony in great numbers, with the vast majority of immigrants settled in and around the Great Lakes region, namely Minnesota and Wisconsin's Upper Peninsula. Though the Swedes were few in number in New Sweden, they brought with them many Finns whose way of life was well suited to the tasks and conditions in the colony. As said previously, many Finns were sent to the colony for practicing their traditional slash-and-burn agricultural techniques, which went against royal law, presumably to protect noble hunting grounds. This practice of slash-and-burn would have been familiar to the local tribes of Lenape, who themselves practiced slash-and-burn to clear land for planting. Like their Scandinavian neighbors, the majority of Finnish Americans today can be found in and around the Great Lakes region. The Finnish impact on New Sweden and the areas around it remains strong. One settler people from southern New Jersey may recognize is Eric Paulson Mullica. Born in 1636, Eric's father, Paul, relocated the family from Gothenburg to New Sweden in 1654, where they lived in modern-day Tacony, Philadelphia. In 1697, Eric started a farmstead on the Little Egg Harbor River, a river which now bears the name Mullica, located today in a township which also bears his name. Eric's 3 sons purchased 400 acres of land west of their father's home, and 2 built farmsteads there at what is now known as Mullica Hill in Gloucester County. Founding father John Morton's parental great-grandfather was a Finnish immigrant to New Sweden. Morton represented Pennsylvania in the Continental Congress, signed the Continental Association in 1774, the Declaration of Independence in 1776, and was chair of the committee to write the Articles of Confederation. While Sweden did have 2 islands in the Caribbean, New Sweden seemed to be the extent of their colonial interests, and after its loss, the Swedes focused their efforts on maintaining their European holdings. The colonial attempt came at a strange time for the empire. After the death of Gustavus Adolphus, the crown fell to his only child, Christina. Upon Christina's ascent to the throne at the age of 18 in 1632, and before her abdication in 1654, Sweden became a place of learning and the arts, wishing Stockholm to become the Athens of the North, a pursuit which earned her the title of Minerva of the North at the cost of bringing the empire to near insolvency. While I doubt America today would look any different had Christina funded efforts in the colony, it would have been interesting to see how her influence, fondness for education and the arts, could have shaped the areas that were once New Sweden.